Hey, my name is Alyssa Woodrow. I am a part of the Mental Health Capacity Building, or better known as the POP Room. And I am going to present to you guys about wellness, but from an Indigenous perspective. So, what is Indigenous wellness? Indigenous wellness is based around four key elements: so spiritual, mental, physical, and emotional. Um, and throughout the presentation, I will be talking about all four of those key elements. Yeah, so starting with spiritual. The TP teachings are a huge part of Indigenous wellness. It's kind of like there's like a type of rule that you should follow in life. And basically, it's because each pole represents something different. So the poles represent obedience, respect, humility, happiness, love, faith, kinship, cleanliness, thankfulness, sharing, strength, good child rearing, and hope. Basically, a bunch of things that you should aspire to have in your life. Obviously, there's some exceptions to some. But yeah, that's kind of basically what the TP poles represent. But many people know these types of teachings already, but not a lot of people know about the meaning behind the TP itself. So basically, the TP canvas, like the part that goes all the way around the TP, it represents the skirt of the grandmother, and the poles up at the top are representing her arms that are stretched out towards the creator. So many of you know that there's like a little hole at the top of a teepee, and that is where all the smoke gets out. So basically, you're not suffocating yourself with smoke in a teepee. And that little hole carries out our prayers as well. So then her hands are kind of guiding it towards the creator as we pray and everything. And also, a lot of ceremonies happen within the teepee, obviously. And it is kind of like we're in the womb. So we're in like the womb of our grandmother. Then when we leave the teepee, it's kind of like we're being reborn because we feel calm, relaxed, ready to take on whatever gets thrown in our way, like things like that. And yeah, so it's kind of as a child coming out of the womb, it's kind of like us, but coming out of grandmother's womb. And yeah, so then the second element is mental. Indigenous people have experienced some types of trauma that are not prevalent or common among other cultures, especially non-Indigenous people. For example, residential school syndrome. It is a real diagnosis given to many residential school survivors. Many Indigenous people who attended the residential schools present symptoms close to post-traumatic stress disorder or PTSD. Um, However, typically PTSD is one or multiple traumatic experience that has an effect on an individual person. Um, However, considering the effects of residential schools have affected more than 150,000 people, they labeled the mental health struggles that these survivors experienced as residential school syndrome. So another type of trauma that is experienced a lot by Indigenous people is intergenerational trauma. This is also experienced by non-Indigenous people. However, it is very prevalent among Indigenous people. So basically, intergenerational trauma is a psychological term, which basically means that trauma can be transferred from generation to generation. Um, and it can be, trauma can be passed down genetically through DNA. So basically, if your mom or father experienced a severe amount of trauma during their life, it could chemically change a part of their brain, which can then be passed down to you. You don't have to experience the trauma in order to feel the effects of said trauma. And this is why it is very important for the youth of today to learn how to heal from those traumas so that our future generations can live without them. So the next element is physical. So one good example of how Indigenous physical health is affected differently than non-Indigenous people is the high rates of diabetes. So in 2016, they reported that 8 in 10 Indigenous Canadians who are young adults will develop type 2 diabetes in their lifetime, compared to 5 in 10 in the general population. And the reason of the high diabetes rates is related to the lack of access to healthy, affordable food, and just along with poverty in general. Um, Basically, if you go to a grocery store, a head of lettuce could cost you like roughly, I don't know, $10. and it will go bad. It will start to rot. Eventually, you can't eat it. And that's in like 2 weeks of after you buy it. But a bag of chips that you can buy for 99 cents will most likely last for quite some time. It'll eventually go stale. However, it's not um, super horrible to eat. Same with pop, for example, due to like the carbonation and things like that, it will last a lot longer than say like a jug of milk. And there's definitely like $5 difference between a jug of milk and a 2 liter of pop. So it's kind of, you got to think about your budget, which could be less than $50 a month for groceries, and how you can feed multiple people within your household for $50. Um, I used to work at the food bank, and they said that it's roughly $200 a person per month for groceries. So if there was two people in your home, then it should be roughly $400 a month for groceries. That is a little ridiculous, but that is what Health Canada has said it costs basically to eat to their standards, if that makes sense. Um, and then also, due to colonization, our traditional ways of food have definitely changed. So, Indigenous people lived off of meat, berries, literally anything that came from Mother Earth. But with colonization, we were given flour, sugar, which, yes, does come from Mother Earth. However, we didn't just whip up some flour and some sugar back in the day. It was very different than how we have it now. And that led to organic, fried bread, things like that, that is full of carbs and just not really good things for your immune system. So now Western versus Indigenous medicine. This is where it kind of gets a little bit interesting. When I say Western medicine, probably comes to your mind of like ibuprofen, Advil, Tylenol. Maybe you're on an antidepressant or an anti-anxiety medication. Basically, anything in a pharmacy is all Western medication. However, Indigenous medicine is very different. So we'll start with the four sacred medicines. There is tobacco, which is common among all people, like it's in cigarettes, obviously. However, traditional tobacco contains no addictive substances like nicotine in it. It is just straight tobacco, which is used for ceremonial purposes. Tobacco is seen as a way to pray to the creator. And when you gift tobacco to an elder, they'll sometimes take the tobacco, place it in a pipe, and then as it is smoked, the elder will pray. And the smoke of the tobacco goes upwards towards the creator, and it holds all of our prayers. Sweetgrass is known as Mother Earth's hair. It represents love, peace, and harmony for your mind, body, and spirit. And it can also be used to help with colds or sinus issues. And it can be drank as a tea or an infusion to help with coughing. Sage is known as the female medicine. So women cannot smudge or touch medicine when they're on their moon time or their period. Um, However, sage is totally okay because it is a woman's medicine. So sage is used to cleanse spaces yourself and to promote healing. Cedar is very much like sage. It's used to purify spaces and yourself. It's also used for prayers, healing, and many other reasons. So now I just kind of want to show you a couple of Indigenous medicines that I find super interesting and that I also use myself. And I tried to compare it to Western medicine so that we could kind of get an understanding of both of them. So Northern Valerian. Northern Valerian is a good sleeping aid. You can turn it into an oil. You can and then place that oil under your tongue. Then it helps you to sleep at night, which can also improve your mental health. It's also been used to help with insomnia, obviously, and depression. And one of the most common antidepressants that I could think of was Prozac. Definitely totally different. Prozac can affect your brain chemically, and Northern Valerian is just kind of like a natural substance to replace that. However, obviously, do not take my advice as doctorate advice because I am not a doctor. I am a social worker. Bear grease. You can use bear grease for literally almost everything. It's good for burns, cuts, psoriasis, eczema, dry scalp, many other things. And it just kind of works like a polysporin. Um, However, polysporin can really only be used for like cuts, scrapes, burns, things like that. You really don't want to like rub polysporin all over your head and hope that your hair grows back. But it is definitely, it's kind of like a salve, kind of like Tiger Balm, and polysporin, and just a bunch of everything combined into one. And yes, bear grease is exactly what it says. It is grease from a bear. So chaga. Chaga is a mushroom that grows on a tree, and it's used for various ailments and illnesses. Um, and it helps boost your immune system for sore joints, arthritis. It's an anti-inflammatory. It's good for to boost your energy. Um, and I couldn't think of really anything Western to compare this to. There's definitely vitamins that can help boost your immune system. There's different medications that can help with diabetes, sore joints like Tylenol again. However, none of Western medicine that I could think of helped with all of those things. And I just want to clarify that when I say that it helps build your immune system, helps with diabetes and stuff, I don't mean like after you drink 1 cup of chaga mushroom tea that you are instantly cured from diabetes and sore joints. It is a progressive thing. And if it helps boost your immune system, it can help with other things as well, like your sore joints and things like that. However, it depends on the person, it depends on the pain, it depends on everything. It's just like with Western medicine. Sometimes Tylenol works for people, sometimes Advil works for people. Skunk juice. So, skunk juice is a huge immune system booster. Many people drink the juice to help beat certain illnesses like colds and flus. And many people have also been using it to help battle COVID-19. It's literally skunk juice is exactly what you think it is. It is the stuff that the skunks spray. Um, I can tell you that it tastes just like it smells. You need to plug your nose when you want to take it because it stinks, does not taste good. However, down the hatch, good to go, you know? So the next aspect is, or element is emotional. So, what exactly is emotional health? It's like catching your own self judgments, expressing your feelings in appropriate ways, growing a healthy circle of friends, ceremonies, no matter what culture, like whether that's going to a sweat lodge or a pipe ceremony, or whether it's going to mass at church. Um, Breaking the intergenerational trauma cycle, which happens among Indigenous and non Indigenous people, and just a strive for balance, which is exactly what the medicine wheel is, and is exactly what the 4 key elements are. So now we kind of want to do a little bit of an activity. I want you to take out a piece of paper and draw a big circle on it, and then divide it into 4, kind of like the photo um, on this slide. And then when you're done doing that, I need you to label each quadrant as one as physical, emotional, spiritual, and as mental. And then on the top of your paper, write where I am now. And then everything that you just did, repeat on one other piece of paper, and then label that one where I want to be. And then when you're done with creating your circles, I want you to basically just answer the questions. So, where is your wheel right now? Are you think about like physical? Are you not getting enough exercise? Possibly with like mental, are you struggling with your mental health? Are you not sure where your spirituality lies? Things like that. Just basically write down everything that you're feeling within those quadrants. And then when you're done with that, go to your next paper. And this is where I want you to write down where you want your wheel to be in like a year. If you're not thinking too far into a year, go like a month, or it doesn't matter anytime. But I want you, like, do you want to be more open with your mental health? Do you want to start walking more, participating in activities that benefit your mental health? Do you want to start going to the gym every day? Like, what do you want to do in a month, a year, however long? And then when you're done with that, I want you to start to think about how you are going to get from where you are to where you want to be. So writing it down is very beneficial. However, if you just kind of want to do a mental map about like how you'll get there and stuff, then that's totally fine too. And then, yeah, when you are done that, then that is all. Thank you for listening. And if you have any questions, comments, concerns, anything, feel free to email your teacher and I can answer, or you can always swing by the pop room and come visit us, and we can most likely answer any questions that you have. Thank you.